So any point of time, if you wanted to make it as a export as a jar. So what is this jar? Jar will contains all your classes and everything, right? Correct. Rather than to share that individual class file and basically pass it and things like that. So if I wanted to give this code, what I will do, I will basically export as a jar, or maybe let's say make it as a runnable jar. Okay. So here I will just give the destination here. E new SCL dev. Okay. So you also need to select that which class you wanted to take it as in this. Let's say bank app process here. Okay. So this is the primary class which we will execute it. Are you getting my point? So what will be the entry point if you wanted to execute? Okay, right. So I will just say finish. So if I will go to here, E drive, jars, okay. So CD, correct. Now Java hyphen jar. What is the jar file name? HCLDave.java. You see the output, correct? Right. So this is a basically if you wanted to make it as executable jars. But if you are just making any particular jar file, which is what we can call as simple, which is not executable, but I will give these classes to use. You can also use this, right? So you can import this jar also in your packages. So how you can import it? So you can come up here. Let's say these classes I wanted to come up and you wanted to use it here into this Spring app as a framework. Yes or no? So what you will say? Configure build path, right? And then you can select that jar file. Yes, right? So you can select this jar file here. So all these classes and everything which you are already building it here, this you can use it here and you can basically utilize it. If there is some utility classes or any other code which you don't want it to write, and that is like let's say anything, correct? Let's say if you wanted to validate an email, so you can create some classes, right? Converting date to your string to date, or many such utility classes like this. This way is basically they have created this entire framework, correct? So you can create once, highly tested, and give it to someone else which we can use it. Correct? So this is a basically for Java archive when we are talking about a Java archive. So Java archive is now it is for completely for Java classes. But if you are working with the web application, when you are having some UI and all this, so you will use that var, right? The packaging will be a var file. So it will be a web-based project. Web applications means any application which you wanted to deploy and which you can run it basically from the browser, right? Or maybe which you can take it that HTTP request and HTTP response when you are sending that request from the browser, web applications, correct? Over the web. So this is basically that kind of a package is what we can say. It is for, you will say you need to package into a var here. There is also another packaging is for EAR. When you have that EJPs and others, then you also package as an entire project as a EAR. But this Java particular project, you won't be, for that you need to create a new web project here. Correct? If you are going for a web-based project, you see web, right? Web dynamic projects and web projects like that. Correct? Where you have some UI component and you need to deploy on the servers. So when you are building this, so there is a different customization also you need to do it. Correct? Now, one thing is also you have seen there is a one more problem. So for that customization, how you wanted to build, what are the classes you will include or like this, there are many such other facilities or you things you can do it. Correct? Now, till now you have also seen that you basically create a separate test cases and you have executed for a particular project. Correct? So in the build process, can you just simultaneously create that particularly a jar and simultaneously create a var or maybe also execute a test cases? And you can also deploy or you wanted to do some other task like this. Correct? So that is basically for that you need to follow separate steps. Correct? Then another thing is that there is a many other things you need to think when you are talking about the build process. Correct? So build is, you can understand that how you build basically generating a classes and you are packaging as a jar. Correct? Now, another thing is you have added that in this particular program or in this code, you have downloaded some of that Spring libraries and given into a class path. Some people have downloaded 5.2.6. For some people have used it, some other versions, some are like this, different. Here, if we have, let's say, 50 people are, let's say, 5-6 versions. Everybody is working on their own versions, right? So there is no standard way for which jars we need to use it. It can create so much problem in the project. One simple jar file. If you are using a multiple jar files with the different, it can create so much problem. Correct? So there is no standard way for managing these jars. Correct? And if these jars are basically every time you need to download and then you need to basically put it into a class path and these things, you need to follow this approach here. So which source you are downloading, there is some other problems like virus and other things also you need to take care. Right? That's why most of the companies restrict that downloading these jars and all these things. So we need to have a standard process where we can maintain the standard versions of a jars, right? And a standard set of jars which we will use it. Correct? Also, in this particular jar which we have created, if you have done some more addition, you need to create a different version. Yes or no? So for that, some more version you will create it. As much as you do addition and you will release a new version, yes or no? So for that, how you will maintain it? Where you will keep it? And how you will put it in, how you will basically understand that which person is using which particular jar word. Correct? Because in the project, you will have a different release. And people who have built, they maybe, there can be a chance, maybe he has left it or moved to some other place. Some other people are using, even they don't know what is the code and which jar version and what is the functionality you have written here. Correct? So for this purpose, basically, we use that Maven. So in Java, we use the two most popular tools. Earlier, we use the Ant also. Ants is now people are not using, but the Gradle and the Maven, right? To make these things are very simple. Okay. So how Maven works? So Maven is basically a build tool, right? Originally started attend to simplifying the build process from the process in the Jakarta turbine projects here. Okay. So build files that were all significant different and the jars were checked it into a CVS. CVS is nothing but there is a remote server where you will keep just like your Git. So people who are using a CVS, people who are using a clear case. So these jars are they are putting over there and they download this from one of the central server, right? When you get that project and jars and everything. So it is not basically a proper maintained. So there is some information also you need to maintain along with the project in the jars. So building and managing a Java projects, that is basically Maven does. Okay. So it will help it to you, right, to simplify your entire project setup, build process, and managing and maintaining the project information and everything. Also, you can do a multiple other steps. If you want to execute a test case, if you want to execute some other code review tools, many such other things, so Maven help it to you. Maven helps for that. Correct? So when you are talking about Maven, especially in this build system, you will have a one simple XML file where you will call it as a pom.xml, project object model. Everything starts from here. So every Maven project, you will have a one XML file called as a pom.xml into a root directly inside the project. Correct? So now there is a Maven central repository. Maybe you have tried to download these jars. You got that right, Maven central. So Maven download. So there is a authenticated jars, and these jars are basically Maven pull these jars from there. And it keeps these jars when you are running the project and keep these jars to your local place. It creates that .m2 repository in your C users inside your name, and you will see there is a .m2 folder. Okay. So for that, we need to have a now which jars it will download it. Correct. So which jars means if you need these jars to build your project or for your class path, if you are using Spring jars, you need it. If you are using a JDBC connector jar, you need it. So any other jars you need it, you can put it into a pom.xml. Maven automatically download it. Correct. But let's say if you have created your own custom jars the way we have done it. So these jars will not be available in your Maven center. So you can create a repository kind of a thing where you will keep these jars. So there is a system called as a Nexus. So it is also one of that Java-based application which can behave like a repository just like a Maven central. Everybody got it? So in that scenario, some of the local custom made jars for which you have created for your project, which you can pull it from your Nexus. So for this repository, if you are using some other repository, Maven Central is by default, which is Maven refers. Okay. So when you run the Maven project, any pom.xml, right? So at this moment, you will see this downloading a jars. So it will automatically download it. But you need to have internet connections. Okay. So once these jars getting downloaded here, it will keep it with you in your local system. So if you will see in my system, right, I will show it to you. Right. So here you can see basically a C users. So .m2. You see repository. Inside the repository, these many folders they have created, correct? You see H2 database, Google. Correct. So there are a different jars. Oracle. these many versions. Correct. Okay. Here I guess there is a jar here. Let's say for H2 database. You see these jars. These are automatically created and this folder structure has been created based on your package, right? Not exactly the package, the way you specify your artifact, the ID you specify when you are creating a particularly a jar. Okay? So like this. So if you will just go into a, come back to a Maven here. Now, Maven primary goal is to allow developers to comprehend the complete state of a development effort. So you don't need to set up all these, right? Download, give it into a class path, managing all these things. Once you have created a pom.xml, it is done. Another thing is that if you have a 60 people, 50 people, one person can create a pom.xml, all other people can use the same pom.xml. You don't need to do anything, right? So it will speed up your development. Everybody don't need to do all this basic work. So quality project information, right? Providing a guidelines for best practice development, right? And transparent migration to new features, right? New features means if you are migrating any particular version of a jars, easily you can migrate it. Just change the number into pom.xml, simple. So you don't need to download that new jar and then replace the jar into a build path. So uniform build system. So Maven allows to project to build using its a project object model POM, right? And set up a plugins that are shared by all the projects using a Maven here. So there are Maven provides a different plugins. These plugins are used for build, test, right, deploy, and many more purposes. So Maven provides so many plugins. Using these plugins, you can do whatever tasks you want to perform. Okay. So it will save immense amount of time, actually. So how run any Maven project, right? So there is a different commands, Maven clean, Maven install, Maven build, and many more, correct? So Maven, when you run it, it will read that pom.xml, right? Then it will download all the dependencies. When I say dependencies, this is nothing but your jars. When I say dependencies, it's nothing but the jars. So it will download the jars from your depends, which by default it is from Maven Central. If you are using some other repository, you connect to the repository and download it. Execute all lifecycle build phases and goals. Means what task you wanted to perform. So there is a different Maven commands basically. If you wanted to clean up, it will delete all these older classes and all these details. Then if you will basically install or there is some other commands, it will build and generate the classes and packages a jar like that, whatever you wanted to do. So there are different commands are there. So this is nothing but your goals. These commands you can consider as a goal. Okay? So if there is some build plugins, you have put it there. Maybe if you wanted to do test, if you wanted to do code review, if you wanted to do some other task. So using that plugins, you can do it. That is also part of your pom.xml. So all these details will be a pom.xml. So pom.xml is a core heart of this Maven projects. Correct? तो जब भी कभी आपको Maven project के ऊपर काम करना है, first thing you need to look for a pom.xml. Pom को basically हमें check करना है. Correct? और POM, do you want to create or need to create a POM? POM आपको create नहीं करना है, right? So POM automatically, जब आप Maven project create करोगे तो POM automatically generate होती है. Even though you can specify which Java version you wanted to use it during the build process. Clear? And it will execute all, right? And then once it is completed, then it will generate a jar of whatever task you want to perform it. Multiple tasks you can do, perform it. Right? Not only basically a compile and generate a classes. If you wanted to package as a jar, if you wanted to do executed a test cases or many more things. Correct? So specification, execution, and reporting of a unit test cases are part of the normal build cycle using a Maven. So you can execute your test cases and generate the report for your test cases. Correct? So keeping your test and source code into a separate. So you don't need to basically normally your all your JUnit test cases जो भी आपने लिखे हैं वो हम लोग कभी भी हमारे मेन सोर्स कोड के साथ पैकेज नहीं करते हैं into a jar. So it will be always separate. So Maven can help it to you like this. Right? So what is the customization that was I was telling you wanted to do? मतलब आप क्या what are the packages और classes आप उस particular build में या उस particular jar में आप लेना चाहते हो? Right? Maven also aim to assist in project workflows such as the release management and issues tracking. That is also Maven helps. Okay, release management and issues tracking के लिए. Maven also suggests some guidelines how to lay out your project directory structure. What will be the project directory structure you need to follow, right? And basically how you will navigate from one. So what you can say, you can have some child project also inside one particular project, right? So when people are working into monolithic applications, so they create a small sub projects in one big project. So you will have some child POMs and you will call these child POMs into main POM. So you can structure also for this particularly a particular package, or you can say entire project. That is also Maven helps. Okay. So this is a Maven provides a very rich facilities. Okay. Only one point is you need to understand that you need to little bit work with the XMLs. How to create a Maven. So you can come here, new, simple. You will see there is an option as a Maven project here. Right? All these Maven projects, you will see there is a M. You see there is one small M here. These are nothing but these are Maven projects. Right? So use that default work location here. Create a simple project here. Correct? So let's say what is the group ID here. So this version will be like this. Packaging will be a jar. Okay. There is a no parent project for this, so you can ignore it. com.app. So when it will be getting downloaded and it will build, it will create a project like directly like this com.app into in your M2 repository. Right? That is the basically significance of group ID. So similar kind of a functionality in JAS you can use, put it into a similar kind of in the same group. Right? Booking app. So where this booking app is there, you see this Maven. So you see there is a pom.xml here. Yes or no? In the pom.xml, as of now, you will not see anything, right? So you see the information basically which we have provided. This information you can get it. Version, purpose, and everything, right? Now, if you wanted to basically create, so you will see the folder structure src main Java, where you will keep all your particularly Java classes. If you have any other test, you can put all your test cases into your src test Java. Any property file, if you are using it, that is, you need to put it into your resources. Clear? So src main Java, you can just start and then you can class. So here, let's say if I am just saying booking application, finish, right? So in booking application here, okay. Now I will run as a Java application, right? As of now, we haven't, it is just when you say control S, Eclipse automatically compile and generate your dot classes, correct? That's why you don't need to do it, right? So here you will get that basically you are able to run it. But if you wanted to package, so in POM, you can right click here, you will see Maven, oh sorry, run as, you will see Maven build, Maven clean. So when I say Maven clean, so you can read about this, right? Scanning a project, building that booking app, right? .jar, and this is your group ID com.app, correct? So the jar name will be a booking app, right? The artifact ID which we have provided. So now, if you wanted to build, what you will say, run as Maven install. If you wanted to execute test cases, Maven test. Okay. So you see, compiling source code and then, right? So it is installing, right? These jars. You see, m2 repository com.app.booking app in this, and you will see this jar file has been created in it. And there is a .pom, basically the information here. Correct? The folder structure also you can see. C user sashish.m2 repository. Like this, you can do it. Now, let's say if you wanted to add some different or specify some jars. Correct? So if you wanted to download any jar, if you wanted to run any particular jar here, or you need to give that entry into as a dependency into pom.xml here. Okay. So all these dependencies, you need to provide it inside the dependencies here, and then these dependencies will be getting downloaded here. Okay. So let's say if you wanted to use any dependency for a Spring, correct? Yeah, Postgres. So let's say Postgres dependency, if you wanted to use it, so you can directly go that what will be the dependency of a Postgres. Postgres character jar. Right? You see, right? Maven repository. So which jar version you need it? You see this dependency. correct? If you need some other version also, you can take it up. Yes or no? So there is a multiple other dependencies and versions. And you see, if you are using a Gradle, you can use some Gradle dependencies also. But if you are, there is a many such other for mocking and many such other dependencies, you can get it from here directly. Okay, I will copy here. Clear? So all these jars you need to specify here like this, each and every one dependency. You see, if you will change the version here, automatically it will download that version. You don't need to do any other thing. Correct? It's very simple and easy. So now I will just save. Again, I will run it. Correct? You see there is a Maven dependency here. You see this Postgres jar. Correct? Correct? If this jar is automatic already downloaded and it is available in .m2, right? Then it will not download it again. But if it is not there, then it will download and it will basically use it. Okay? So here you are not able to see that downloading and all this because this jar is already there. Right? So if you wanted to write any particular code for your database connectivity, simple, right? I'm just giving an example for a database, right? So one of that, I'm just trying to get that URL string and these two details. JDBC. Correct. You see, clear. So Postgres driver and URL string. So I'm just trying to tell you that how you can use that connection strings and then loading a driver here so that you can understand the same code which you can use it into a Maven, right? As for functionality wise, there is a nothing will going to change it. Okay. So you can go to right. Correct. You need to import this. Now, throws. So either you can throws or maybe you can use it into a try catch. Now, driver string, you can add that driver string also here. Okay. And then once you write that driver string, and then you can process and you can start working here. Correct? Whatever the simple JDBC steps for create a statement and whatever things you wanted to perform. Right? In the same way, if these dependencies of basically if you are using it for particularly a spring. So these spring jars which you are giving into a reference library, these jars also you need to put it into a pom.xml. Right? So name of the jar and the version. Okay. So how you will run it? You need to add into a pom.xml. Here. And as a one more dependency, you will add it and you will run it. Correct? So you will not face any compilation error or any other things here. So you also got that where this jar is being basically built it, right? This jar is available in your target folder. And it is moved into a copied into a C users based on the artifact ID, group ID and then jar name. Clear? So this is all about the Maven, how you can build and you can use a Maven here. Simple, it is not related to Java code. All Java code will remain same if you are using Spring or any other things. Okay? Now you can also run this Maven code in from your pom dot here. So for that you need to install or download that Maven from your, you can say Maven, right? That is the Maven site, and then you need to add into a path. So if I will say MVN version. So for that I need to go into a path of this project where this pom.xml is available. So the path of the project here, it's in right? So you see this Maven version here, correct? Why I'm not getting any other error when you are running Maven? Because I have downloaded and kept it into a path variable. So now you can also say clean. So you will run this mvn clean and mvn install also from where basically where you have that pom.xml. Okay. You can also run like this. Okay. So you can also build it from your here as well. Okay. So there is a some build failure or some error it is saying here because there is a some issue with right is no longer supported for use 6 or later. It is basically for incompatibility of a what we can say for a Java version. Correct. So that is we need to sync it. But this problem is basically is related to a Java version. Are you getting my point? But you can run these commands from here as well. So coming back to a Java compiler. So you can change the Java compiler here, or then you can perform it. But as of now, you don't need to just do it and all these experiment here as a beginner. But you can understand that how Maven works. Okay. So this is all about the Maven here. And you can start working with Maven and creating a projects, and then you can basically give different dependencies that is, and your job is done. And run simple is Maven clean and Maven install.